Let's go on to the next group, sending solutions. Now, as a group, when you send solutions, I know this is not your intent, but the impact is this. You're accidentally telling the other person that they're not smart enough or competent enough to solve their own problems and find their own answers. And when I say it that way, can you hear how demeaning that is to the other person? And I got to warn you that there are a whole lot of therapists who do a lot of this. And I want to warn you that should you ever go see a counselor or a therapist and you recognize they're doing this, you need to find a different counselor or a therapist. Because they're telling you and teaching you not to trust the resources that you have inside you as a person. I believe, now this is the greatest gift I believe you can give another person, is to totally believe that they have the ability to find their own answers and solve their own problems. That's the greatest gift you can give a kid. But there's so many people that are so wanting to feel like what they have is valuable that they run around and try to solve everything for everybody, try to give them the answer, and they deprive that person of the journey that they could take within themselves to find their own answer. And there's another problem with this, and that is any answer I give you, I can only give you based on my life story. That's the subtotal of my learning. And you know what? You have a different life story. Is there anything in my life story that's automatically relevant to your life story? Well, we could get lucky and maybe there'd be some stuff. But there's real likely to be a lot of stuff in my life stories that's not relevant to your life story. And the advice that I give based on my life story might not even be that good based on your life story. So there's some problems with it. So how do we go about doing this? Well, the most direct way is we order. You command. You just tell the other person what they have to do. And some organizations, which are very top-down, kind of do that in the workplace. So they very directly tell them what the answer is. And if you want to see ordering, I would suggest you go out to Oakwood Mall and start trailing a family that's got little kids. And I guarantee you that it won't be long before you hear mom or dad barking out some orders at these little kids. Or watch me when my golden retriever doesn't behave the way I think she should. All right? So I'm not above giving orders. Now, can orders be useful? Absolutely. We train certain professions to be good at it. We train our military, we train EMTs, we train firefighters, we train police to walk into any situation and start barking out orders. I used to do crisis intervention work a lot, and you learned that if you could walk in and with a tone of authority start barking out orders in any situation of confusion, people follow you like sheep. They just do whatever you ask them to do. So there's power in it, and it can save lives when people are in that kind of situation. But how does it work in a mutual relationship? I mean, is there respect, mutuality, equality? No, this is very one-up. I was doing therapy with a family once. This was back when we were really, willing to go the extra mile. So I'm going to do therapy in these people's home. They haven't met me yet. I've just talked to them on the phone. I'm coming to the first therapy session. Dad meets me at the front door, and I immediately start assessing how this is going to go. So Dad takes me by the arm and pulls me into the living room. I'm thinking, that's kind of strange, you know. And then he says, you sit over there. Tells me where I have to sit. Well, I wasn't the only one. He told everybody else in the family where they had to sit. I'm thinking, well, this is interesting. This is like kind of a power and control family here, isn't it? And so anyway, at one point, there's two kids and there's a mom and a dad. One point, he was a private business person, and the phone rings, and it's something happening down at his business, and he has to deal with it. So he excuses himself. He goes in the kitchen. I can hear him talking on the phone. Pretty soon he yells at his wife to get in there because he needs her for something that's got to do with the problem at the business. So now I'm left with the two kids, and then pretty soon they yell for one of the kids to go find something in the other room or in the car. I can't remember what it was. So now I'm left with the youngest kid, all right? And this kid was like first grade. Now this is the therapist's dream, because the youngest kid in the family is the one who most directly tells you what's going on in this family, all right? And so I'm just there talking to the little kid, and he's on the, so I get down on the floor with him, and we're just messing around, and he pulls his teddy bear over, and guess what happens next? he starts ordering his teddy bear around in the exact same tone of voice that Dad used to order everybody in the family around. And I said, well, that is really interesting. You know, the little people watch the big people, right? Okay, so how do you think the level of marriage satisfaction was in that family? It wasn't that great. Everything worked as long as everybody did exactly what Dad wanted them to do. But it didn't work very well. And I can tell you from working in juvenile probation that that is not an uncommon kind of family that juvenile delinquents come from. Because they get to a certain age and they just say, they rebel. Whatever they say, I'm going to do the opposite, right? Because that's the only way I can find myself. I don't want to be what they think I have to be. I have to find, but unfortunately they're still reacting to the other person. They still haven't found themselves. Threatening. This is where you send the solution, but you try to induce a little fear in the other person. Sometimes you can do this without even talking. Have you ever been in a situation where you got in an argument and then you don't even say you're going to do this, you just clam up. Take a posture, look the other way. Right? Okay, is that threatening? What are you communicating? Okay, we're done here. You're not getting anything more out of me. You're being such a yahoo, right? So you can non-verbally induce a threat, right? But I got a really great one time. At Stout, I would often go over to the student center and sit in the cafeteria, and when I walk in and get my thing that I'm going to eat, I always have a piece of paper and a pencil with me so I can write things down. And kids think I'm there kind of doing work and stuff, but the truth is I'm there trying to get examples from my interpersonal effectiveness class. So I scout the whole cafeteria and I look for a table where there would be two people who by their body language I can tell they're not doing well. And then I go and try to sit close enough so I'm not intrusive, but I'm trying to listen to everything that goes on there. Okay, and so this is what was going on. It's a guy and a gal, she has her 21st birthday coming up on Saturday. And her expectation is that her boyfriend ought to make a big deal out of this. Unfortunately for the boyfriend, he's got 3 buddies from River Falls and someplace else coming into town, and he's planning to go out with his buddies and show them the town. And he's saying, well, you could come along, but, and she doesn't want to go with 3 guys and blah, 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 blah. And so he's trying to get out of this. And he's saying, okay, I'll take you anywhere you want to go Friday. We can go out and eat at any place you want. I'd like to take you to the shopping mall and buy you something really nice for your birthday, whatever you'd like. And everything he came up with, her response was the same. Friday is not my birthday. All right, so this went on for quite a while. I'm thinking, this is good, it's heating up. And then finally, we get to the conclusion. She stands up, picks up her book bag and her jacket, and turns around to him and says, if you don't take me out on my birthday, I am never speaking to you again. And I said, oh, good one, threat. All right, so have you ever used these? Okay. The softer version is, you do that and you'll be sorry. You remember kids doing this? Well, you do that and you'll be really, really sorry. You'll be really, really, really sorry. Okay, threats. Okay. Moralizing. This is where you send the solution and you wrap a halo around it. So like, somehow or another, you have the superior solution and you are willing, because you're such a magnanimous person, to share this superior solution with this poor person. Very often, there are shoulds or coulds involved in moralizing. So have you ever said, how could you? How could you be so? All right, you hear the moralizing? How about this one? Okay, Deb, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if you were any kind of a person, you would. Right? Do you hear the moralizing? And sometimes...
The same as using the if you loved me.
Very good, yeah. Or another version of that is...
If you care, or all those...
Yeah, right. Or at some point, teenagers often say this to their parents. You see, guilt is another way to do moralizing. You've ruined my entire life. I hope you're happy. Right? You didn't get what you wanted. Or, I have never been treated this shabbily in my entire life. Okay. So you get the idea about moralizing. Then you can do excessive inappropriate questioning. Now this is where you really don't want an answer, because you already have the answer. You just are going to keep asking questions to either lead them in the direction you want them to go, or just to make statements with questions. So I don't know, did any of you have a curfew as a kid, and then one night you broke curfew and you were supposed to be home at 12 and it's now 1:30 and you're pulling into the driveway, and the last 20 minutes of the ride home you've been making up this great story about why if you had come in at 12 o'clock you probably would have had dead bodies in the trail or whatever, and so there was a really good reason why you couldn't get there by 12 o'clock. And so you spent all this great time coming up with this creative story, and the truth of the matter is you will never get a chance to use it, because you walk in and mom and dad are sitting at the kitchen table, and as soon as you walk in the door, what happens? Where were you? How could you do this to us? What do you think we were feeling while we were here? You know what we were doing while you were out there, calling all the hospitals and the police trying to find out where you were? I mean, didn't we say 12 o'clock? And then it's one question after another. Have you ever been interrogated in that way? Nobody wants an answer here. We're just asking questions. Or here's the soft version. You've already decided what you want somebody to do, but you're going to gently guide them to your solution. So let's say that it's January, and I've decided that this weekend we should go cross-country skiing, but I'm not going to ask Robin if she wants to go. That's my wife. I'm going to convince her that this is the right thing to do. So I say to Robin, boy, it's been a really hard week for both of us. I haven't been getting any exercise or any fresh air. How about you? Oh, yeah. Did you look at the weather? It's supposed to be sunny and 30 degrees. And there's supposed to be about 4 inches of new snow coming. Did you see that on the weather the other night? Boy, it should be beautiful out there on Saturday morning, shouldn't it? Yeah, it would feel good. We could actually catch breakfast on our way to one of the parks. See, I know she likes to go out to eat, so you throw in a little sweetener. And okay, you get the idea? I'm not asking her if she wants to do this. I am, with my questioning, lead her to the solution that I've already decided is the correct solution. Advising is the most common one. This is where you feel compelled to give the other person the solution to their problems. Some people call this an interferiority complex. Interferiority. You see, because it cuts off exploration of the problem. You see, not knowing their life story and not knowing anything about their life situation, it's easy for you to give an answer, right? Because it's not complicated with any of those other things. But the answer will be given on your own terms, the terms of your life story. And you're pretending that, now your answer could have been good if they would have had your exact same life story, but nobody does. If they had had the exact same way your brain is wired, but nobody does. Okay. So I think the reason we do advising, if we were really brutally honest with ourselves, is we're trying to prove to the other person that we have something of value to offer. And that's not the most powerful thing to do in relationship. The most powerful thing to do in relationship is to convince the other person that they have something of value to offer. Do you hear the difference? And how would I do that? I would totally listen. And then you say, but I've always been really good at listening, and whenever I'm listening to somebody, it always leads up to this sentence, and they'll turn to me and they'll say, so what do you think I should do? So what am I supposed to do? I have to give them advice, don't I? And I say, absolutely not. When they say, what do you think I should do? You turn it right back to them and you say, what are some of the things you're considering? And then you wait and you listen some more, because now they're going to come up with something that enables them to reach down inside themselves and gather the resources that they already possess that are relevant to this situation, and to find their own solution to their own problem. You have empowered them. In the other way, you take all that away from them. You trust people to find their own best answers. What is this, from Confucius or someplace? You give a person a fish, they eat for a day, but you teach them how to fish, they eat for a lifetime. Well, enabling people to find their own answers and solve their own problems is teaching them how to fish. And sadly, there are so many people giving kids advice in every place they go, that what do kids learn? Some of the advice is contradictory. Some of it is just repetitive. So they start to tune the whole thing out.